Okay. February 20th, already, planning board meeting is now open. First thing on the agenda, public hearing for Cumberland Farms, 883 Broadway. I have a letter from Cumberland Farms, the applicant for site plan review. Dear Ms. McKinney, as you are aware, this office represents Cumberland Farms. In connection with the application for site plan approval, which is currently scheduled for continued public hearing for Thursday, February 6th, which was continued, application for a special permit. Due to the Zoning Board of Appeals' decision for an application for special permit concerning the project, respectfully request that it be permitted to withdraw their site plan application without prejudice, and that the board at the February 6th public hearing approved this request. So it is February 20th. And would you like to make a motion that you will let them withdraw their application?
Yeah, make a motion, we let them withdraw their application.
I'll second it.
Second for discussion, they can withdraw, but all the filing fees are
They're forfeited? Is that what
yeah, I'm thinking what did they?
They do have something, I don't know how much, left in the project review account, which normally goes back.
Right, that will go, whatever's left over,
Other than that,
there's nothing else, okay, so,
you wanna make that part of the motion so we can release that?
yes, and then we don't have to revisit it. So,
Want to revise that motion?
if we can amend your motion to, release any funds left over from the review account. Period.
Need a second?
I'll second it again.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next, public hearing, 1051 Locust Street subdivision.
Got a notice to read here.
Yep.
In accordance with provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A and 41, Section 81T and 81U, the Raynham Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Thursday, February 20th, 2020, 6:05 p.m. at Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, 558 South Main Street, on application for approval of a plan submitted by Kenneth P. Appleby, Raynham, Mass. For definitive subdivision number 1051 Locust Street, Raynham, Mass., proposing 2 lots on 2.51 acres of land located on Locust Street, Assessors Map 15, Lot 110D. Plan is prepared by Arthur F. Borden and Associates Incorporated, Raynham, Mass. Any person wishing to be heard or interested in the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. A complete copy of the plan and application may be viewed at the Raynham Town Clerk's Office or Planning Board Office, 558 South Main Street, Raynham, during regular office hours. Raynham Planning Board, Dan Andre,
Thank
Chairman.
you. Okay, so state your name for the record.
Arthur Borden from Arthur Borden Associates, on behalf of the petitioner Ken Appleby.
And you can explain what you were in front of us a few months back. And I do recall we had some discussion about this being allowable for basically a subdivision. And Burke and Russ, I believe, at the time agreed that it would be considered a subdivision.
Yeah, we are creating 2 lots, so technically it falls under the subdivision control law. I've outlined in green the 2 lots, and also in green the proposed roadway. In orange are the 125-foot square boxes on the building setback lines.
Are you, excuse me, are you here for this plan?
Mhm.
You want him to turn that a little bit?
Yeah, well,
Good.
no, I've seen the plan.
He's got copies of it.
I know.
Okay.
I have copies. Are you the owners of the property? No, just about.
Okay, so continue. So you have,
The roadway is creating 150 feet of frontage for the back lot. The roadway would be a private way. That's the way we've proposed it. We had a list of several waivers that we requested for consideration, mostly dealing with really the construction of the roadway. The right-of-way we're proposing to be 40 feet wide. We don't need 50. We only have a driveway basically up the middle to service the house. We're showing a house location conceptually for discussion purposes, but it meets all of the setback criteria. We've proposed a grade, a profile for the driveway that matches pretty much the ground that's there. It comes in off of Locust Street, it slopes down at 2%. To a low point right here, slopes back up at 2% to the house. So at the low point, we're proposing, though, under stormwater management that the state has, a two-lot subdivision doesn't apply to stormwater management, but we've put in some stone swale to an area in the back here where the site currently drains. The property is surrounded by a stone wall, so none of the runoff leaves the property. And it'd be very little runoff here because it's only the driveway, compacted base, not paved. So the driveway itself would infiltrate. The utility would be water off the street and a sewer force main back to Locust Street where sewer is available. The existing house conforms to all the setback requirements. So that's pretty much my presentation. We're asking for the waivers under Section 81R that allows for the planning board's discretion on waiving any and all of their particular rules and regulations. Applies to the
now all, excuse me, your elevations all show that everything is heading, is that in a westerly direction? Or north, yeah.
Southwesterly, yeah.
So, how are you gonna have, you got 69, 68, 67. Now you're showing that swale on the, going in on the left-hand side. Is that gonna capture the water on the other side of the driveway? What's gonna prevent the water on the right side of the driveway going in from?
When we get to the low point, we're proposing to kind of super elevate the driveway so that the right-hand side is a little bit higher, so it'd be like a 1% cross grade, so that it all come down and it slope to our swale.
And then on your, can you go back to the original? Do you show a turnaround, or I see in here, is this little bump, is that in the, no, that's not in the green, outlined in the green, so unless the, oh, I'm sorry, it's not even a turn, it's not even a bump, it's a elevation line. It looked like it was a, see at the very end, looks like a turnaround?
Right.
Yeah.
This area, right, that's great.
but that's elevation. So is there enough room for somebody to get to the end? And
We propose for the driveway to come into the garage with a back out area to drive back out.
yeah, you gotta add a little, you need to have a hammerhead, you need to have something, so that is gonna have, that will be, even though it's a private way, people will drive down there, believe it or not. So, going back to your, can you fit that on your layout that you have? You said you were able to, you have 150-foot frontage, but on that configuration that you have in that green outline, can your driveway go in and have, either way, some type of a hammerhead at the end to be able to turn in and back up, even if they're gonna,
Within this right-of-way area?
yeah.
Dan, does the fire have to have a hammerhead or something to turn around the truck? I mean, if a fire truck goes up in there, how do they get back out?
Yeah, it's only one house,
So they don't need it?
no, it's, on Locust Street, there's a, right around the bend, I think it's, oh, what's his name? Lives way in the back,
Oh, I know what you mean,
400 feet off the road, you know, I mean, it's,
Okay, just.
if there's an issue. So, Bob, you were just saying?
Just, if he had 150 feet of frontage and he showed he had 75 and 75, within this area, he could show a hammerhead, still maintain 150 feet. He has plenty of square footage to stay within the 40,000 square feet. So he would just have to reconfigure this and show a hammerhead, and then he'd show the frontage a little cleaner than having to come back and around. So it could say 75, have a long line here, another 75, create his 150 feet, and in this area, he could show you a hammerhead.
Now, would that interfere with your drainage that you have, or is that away from the drainage?
There's plenty of room there to move the swale down a little bit. If we did the hammerhead in here, we'd do a narrower swale and then open it up and we get out back here where it's actually depressed anyways. I think we can.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's gotta be a way, if you have 150-foot frontage, it's, in the way that's angled, there's gotta be a way to be able to have some type of means to back up. Even if there is, if they pull in and you're gonna have your driveway paved, so even if they can pull in and back up to
And drive out.
the drive, but you know, if we would make sure that no occupancy permit would be issued unless all that's done. Because it would be, you know, I mean, it's almost, you know, one needs the other, you know, you need the house built in order for that to
Right.
clear. So we can do it that way. And then that way there, you're not, you know, you can, any changes that, anything that you need to do, you're gonna do on your plot, on your house plot plan, you won't have to come back in front of us to. I'm sure you can, with that amount of room, I'm sure you can figure out a way of getting it, some way to back up. I know we did that even over on White Street at the end. Okay. Yes, questions? State your name for the record.
David Smith, 1061 Locust
Excuse me,
Street.
could you go up to the podium, because they won't hear you on TV? Okay.
Chance to be famous, yeah.
Gonna be on TV.
First start.
Yeah, David Smith, 1061 Locust Street. I'm the southerly abutter to the property. This is a definitive subdivision hearing then? It's not the preliminary hearing?
No, definitive. They were in front of us, for, discussion a few months back,
Weren't we supposed to be invited to that hearing also?
not for discussion.
Not for discussion, okay. Because I'm looking at this, and this doesn't meet the subdivision bylaws of what a road is. I know you have the right to change that and waive that, because the subdivision road is supposed to be 22 foot wide, 50 foot right of way, and I know you're looking at a smaller, because it's a driveway.
Right, we've done several of these around town.
Okay, I'm just going through the regulations
Oh, yeah,
and looking at it. So, as far as runoff, was that done? Do you know what the runoff is for the property, for the driveway? And if that infiltration trench is gonna handle it? Because you haven't done any borings back there to determine what the soil is.
It's not a stone wall.
Well, address questions to me, and then.
Oh, okay.
And we'll,
All right.
we'll go that way.
One concern we have is our septic system is on the other side of that stone wall, and whether this is gonna possibly raise the groundwater table. I mean, we could tie into the town sewer, but as of right now, we're not looking at doing that. I'm not sure what effect this might have. The biggest issue that we probably have right now, and would you mind if I gave you a copy of a drawing I did where I
Nope.
placed our house in proximity to what is proposed? The way the new house is currently oriented, he will be looking right into our backyard, to the back of our house. If you're gonna give him the approval to do this, I would request that the dwelling be turned 90 degrees so that it's facing in a different direction. You can still access the end of the house with a garage from the end of the house instead of where it's shown.
Well, part of the subdivision control law is they show a footprint of a house, and that's more so, the 125 box square is grading and elevations is mainly just to make sure that it is, all the elevation's gonna run off right.
Yeah.
For the subdivision, it's not something that they would necessarily have to show, putting that house. That house is only a, yeah.
So the house could be
But
reoriented.
the house can be put anywhere within inside that 125 by 125. As long as the front is facing the driveway, so wherever the driveway is, which is, because you have to access your front yard. So, correct, Bob?
Well, no, it doesn't have to be built inside the 125 by 120. It could be built all the way to the back of the property if they wanted to. What he's asking is if we can ask them to reconfigure the house when they do decide to build on it. And that would probably be something that I would kind of look over, so that it didn't, look in his
Right.
backyard.
No, what I was saying, the 125, that's what we would require for subdivision, not necessarily the house block.
Right, you just have to show that the
'Cause that's a
lot
plot
is
plan
configured
for-
in a fashion where
Right.
it doesn't have small little legs and appendages on it, and you can fit
Yeah.
that size box in it. The house only has to be built within the setback criteria.
Yeah, okay, that's fine, that's the biggest concern we had was somebody being able to look right into the back of our house. Is it gonna be a two-story house, or?
We,
There is no house yet.
again, we don't get into, but,
Okay.
yeah, we don't get into the house construction
The
itself.
the other question I had then was on the subdivision of this.
Yes.
It's divided into actually 3 lots, 2 buildable lots and the driveway. Who is gonna maintain the ownership of the driveway? Or is it gonna be an easement granted for the driveway?
Mr. Borden, is the driveway gonna be owned by the
The
lot back?
The driveway would be the responsibility of the rear lot.
Excuse me one minute, just,
Yeah.
we keep talking driveway, are we talking about what you labeled here as Al Marino Lane? Is that
Yes.
what you're referring to as
Yes,
the
it's-
driveway?
It's not a lot, it's a right-of-way. It's a
Okay.
private right-of-way, it'll be.
You've given it a lane, I assumed it was a private road, is what,
Right.
based on the fact that you named it.
Right.
But you keep
That
it
was-
first, okay, you
that was
cleared it up,
Mr.
you answered my
Appleby's
question.
decision to put a name to it, but the responsibility and maintenance of it would fall to the
The rear
lot
lot.
that is, rear lot that is gonna service, and that could be written into the deed for that lot, that it's, you know, deeded responsibility, so.
Now, is there, where you have your drainage, little drainage area, is that treed on both sides? How dense are those trees?
Okay, what are we talking about?
If you're gonna speak, state your name for the record.
Ken Apple.
Ken, you wanna get up and,
Dan? That help at all? That's the picture of it. That's the house from the street.
It's tree.
How wooded is this area? It's wood.
So, yeah, here's your house.
Yeah, there's trees there.
It's all treed.
Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not
Sir?
a forest, but there are trees.
Could you state your full name for the lady, please?
Kenneth Apple,
Your address?
1051 Locust Street.
Thank you.
There is, yeah, there's trees there.
Okay, well, what I'm trying to get at, there's trees there, but you're gonna have to cut down trees in order to do that drainage swale. So if you're gonna cut down trees to do the drainage swale, then we can impose putting planting of some arborvitae's or something that's gonna be deer resistant along that borderline. Basically, again, where the house goes, that's something secondary from a subdivision, but we can kind of help control that if, you know, you go and cut all those trees down and put that riprap and put the drainage there.
Well, with that house there, I mean, at the end of the driveway there, there's still plenty of trees. Not gonna level up those trees.
I understand that, but right on the property line, you have a drainage,
Okay.
you have a drainage area directly on the property
Oh, I
line.
see. Okay.
So when you go in there and you cut down those trees, you're gonna basically have to take those trees down right to the stone wall.
Okay, I see, all right.
Because there's no way with the roots and everything else, there's no way for you to do that drainage without removing all those trees. So when you do that, part of your landscaping package, when you do your swale, will be to put up a row of arborvitae's, pines or something that would fill in that area. And again, that would help alleviate any other issues down the road. Would you have enough room, Mr. Borden, to add some,
Well, we're gonna have to reconfigure it somewhat anyways to put the hammerhead in there, so we'll take a look and see if we can pull it this way away from the stone wall. Maybe we don't need to do any grading there ultimately, when we reconfigure it for the turning area, so. If we have to do grading, then we'll propose some plantings.
okay. Well, what we can do is, we can look at what you have presented in front of us, and then if you're gonna have, if you're not gonna be able to do your hammerhead, incorporate that into the plot plan with the house, then you may have to come back in front of us if you're gonna change this plan, or we just table this plan until the next meeting, you go back, reconfigure that, or else you're gonna have to you're gonna have to come back in front of us, so you're gonna have to refile. So if there's any changes to that layout that you have as your roadway,
Right.
if there's ain't gonna be any changes, then I would advise you to continue this for 2 weeks. Go back, make those changes, add some landscape screening on that side of the property line. And just come back and make sure that the soils, that the drainage for that basic driveway, that it's not gonna overflow into the neighbor's property. And for that, all I would need is an elevation. If you have you must have some topos going through his backyard. If his septic system's higher than where your drainage is, then you're not gonna have.
We didn't extend the topo off of the property because the property's bounded by a stone wall that would act as sort of as a dam to keep any water on the property, so.
If I can.
Yeah, it's.
The leach field area, the top of the leach field is roughly elevation 62 and a half. And so it's
So-
roughly the same elevation as the bottom of where he's
So it's
proposing the drainage swell.
Okay. All right, so what is your pleasure? Would you, if we look at this plan and we go through the waivers, we can vote on it that way, but if you're gonna have any changes,
Okay, excuse me, doesn't he have to come back and show us the hammerhead? Show us a plan with the hammerhead?
no, because he has a subdivision layout. If he can fit it within that layout,
Yeah.
within the road opening, then he doesn't have to, because as long as
Well, but then how do we see a plan that shows what's actually gonna be there? If he doesn't give us another plan showing the hammerhead?
because, flip that back to the green. Everything that's in that green area,
Yeah.
that's a 40-foot access easement. So his driveway's only gonna be what, 12 feet?
Right.
So you have 12 feet within that 40 feet. At the end, you don't need 150 feet, you're only gonna have 12 feet. If he can work within that green area,
Yeah.
which is what I'm saying that he has to do, anything within that area is fine. When he goes for a building permit, if the hammerhead backs up into the driveway, it has to be shown on the plan.
Okay, so.
Anything outside
so
of that-
At some point, he has to show, if not us,
It will
then
go-
Bob, a plan showing the hammerhead.
Correct.
That's
Anything
one point,
outside of
somebody's gotta see it.
anything outside of that green, then he would have to come back in front of the board.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying, if you think you can do it, if not, then I would suggest that you continue it for 2 weeks. Reconfigure that swale area and, show some arborvitae plantings on the plan, and then,
I think it makes sense to do that so that what you act on is what's gonna get built, rather than,
I'm giving you the option.
you know, otherwise, if we try to do it through the building permit process, like you say, if we can't
Go
make it
outside the
work
green
in
area,
the-
then he'll send you back to planning board at that point.
Right.
And
So
then,
I-
that's why.
I think it just makes sense to, reconfigure it, take the 2 weeks to do that, and come back to you with something that you can approve that's.
Okay. So you asking us to continue this until, what's the,
Next date is,
March 5th?
Yes.
Okay, so any other questions for the abutter?
Thank you.
Okay. So with those few comments that we had, and Bob mentioned, we're gonna continue this until March 5th, and we'll put you on at 6:05. And at that time, we should be all set.
All right.
All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, do you, this is our copy that we had in the file?
Yes.
We're gonna keep this one.
I'll give you mine, I'll give you my copy.
What's that?
She wants the copy of this.
Okay, thank you. Invoices, we have no invoices. What we have is 676 Broadway Greyhound Liquors. Way back when they did an addition, we have $2,706.71 funds to be returned to them. Make a motion to return the funds. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All in favor, unanimous vote, sign that. We have another, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Borden, did you receive that from the sewer department, letter? Why don't you take that? That tells you, your fee to tie in and all your other good stuff. You can sign that one for Maureen. And then we have another, to whom it may concern, please transfer all remaining funds from Rogers Way review fee to 1729 Broadway project. Please transfer to 1729 Broadway project.
It's coming up March 5th, first meeting.
Okay, so
So what's it?
we
Same
have
people?
$1,968.81. And can you do that transfer?
Yep.
We're gonna transfer that to the 1729 Broadway project, and that will go into the review account. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Correspondence, we went over planning board updates. Yes, sir, planning board meeting.
So I want to just update the board on the process of revamping our rules and regs. We had entered into, well, we got a scope of services from Nietzsche, although we haven't signed it yet. In talking to Stephen Tresca this afternoon, he's still waiting for a meeting between himself, myself, and Ed Buckley, just to get some more information for, he wants to finalize his number and then move forward with that. In the meantime, the Government Study Committee has decided to move forward with a company called General Code, who is gonna help what they call codification process, which is gonna help bring all our rules and regs together, review them, take out any redundancy, and actually try to get them posted on the internet and on the website. So when you go to a parcel of land, let's say it's in a business zone, you can click on, it'll be some kind of an app, you can click on that and you'll get a drop-down list of all the rules and regs, zoning codes, and general codes that apply to that particular process. Just, it will help everyone understand how to work through our rules and regs and our zoning codes. So between Nietzsche, this general code company, and some help we're gonna receive from Serped, who's also gonna help us review, and then with the board's help, you know, because obviously you people are the ones that work with this rules and regs, and you know where it's deficient and where it needs to be changed. It looks like we can at least get this process started here in the next couple of months. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. We did have a department was attended by the two reps from Serped about implementing some master plan work in the near future, which, you know, will, so their master plan they've contracted with the town does not include reviewing the rules and regs. That would be something they would take on as additional projects, so we'd have to find some money to add to what they're doing now.
Yeah. They presented to the selectmen a few weeks ago also. It's Jed Cornock and Lisbeth Gonzalez, the two people, and they, I guess they're the ones that, they'll be our interface. They talked about having meetings with the public and the department heads and boards and so forth to get our input on the master plan.
Both
Well,
Jed-
I'm still waiting for somebody to ask if we are gonna take the lead on that.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
We're supposed to.
That's,
We,
the selectmen asked that question too, whether or not it was
I
going to be
saw,
the planning board, yeah.
I saw that.
So the process will ultimately go through the planning board. Originally, it was thought that the planning board would take the lead, and all the information would be funneled through the planning board through public hearings. But there's been some recent discussion about setting up study committee and having a separate committee work on this. So I'm not sure what direction the selectmen want to take this. They've been given both options. I'm waiting to hear back from them whether or not they want a planning board to be the quarterback, or they're gonna go the committee route. So,
Well, the meeting that I saw, Mr. Pacheco said he was gonna, he asked Mr. Waters to send it to the planning board and ask the planning board
Right.
what their direction they wanted to go in. Because if you look through the state of Massachusetts, it's the planning board's responsibility for
absolutely.
any
Yep.
of them. So any of the committees that are gonna be put together or anything else should be done through this board.
It would be very helpful to have a committee, from what I understand.
We had 8 of them last time.
Well, I think you would have to limit the committee members and have it focused solely on that one goal, is to get through the process as quick as possible. Because, yeah, you have more people and more committees, it's gonna slow the process down. So, do you want me to have both Jed and Lizette come to the next meeting and answer some questions?
I would. I think, when Rich McCarthy was here, we did the first, study. And I know we spent a lot of time on it back then. There was quite a few, planning board had a lot of involvement, then there was quite a few different side committees. I think the side committees are a must, because what it does is, we have Route 138 issues that were even 20 years ago, and we had people from 138 that was on the committee, so there was a lot of input from everybody. And I think, like I mentioned way back when, unfortunately, we get all of this stuff, we spend $75,000 for it, and.
You need an implementation plan after you complete it.
Right. So.
So if it's okay with the board, if we could put them on the top of the agenda for the next meeting, so they don't have to wait till the end,
Yep.
and I'll make that happen.
So that'll be 6 o'clock?
The other thing I want to bring your attention is 5 Commerce Way, the 81 room hotel is ready for an occupancy permit next week. I've been there several times with Steve Ventresca. He's offered his final report. We do have a final as-built plan. There are some landscaping deficiencies and a couple of drainage covers, few outside things, and he's put a $10,000 number to it. I suggest maybe we, at 130%, it'd be 13,000. I would suggest something like 15 or 20,000 as a bond. I did speak to Mr. Noblin also this afternoon to see if they could give us an okay, the PAC group. He had some concerns, but he was going to get back to me. He hasn't get back to me by the beginning of this meeting. There were some cleanup concerns which were being addressed. A fence that got damaged in the wind last Friday's wind.
I took another ride by there, and if I was pricing that job as a landscaper to do what was supposed to be done, they would be spending in excess of $30,000. So, if I would make a motion that the bond be $30,000, in order for them to get a temporary occupancy permit. I'm amazed that they would do as little landscaping on that place as possible, when they presented a beautiful plan, and the building came out nice. It's just, it's so far underappreciated without good landscaping.
The landscaping is not done at the right time of the year, so I think, they try to force something in at the end of the landscape season last season. They did come in front of you with a modification plan, which I'm not so sure you actually approved.
Well, what we did on that meeting, and I think Mr. Texera made the motion that if you and I go out there, and if we feel that it was adequate, that we would say, okay, we give them we'd give them their temporary occupancy permit. And I think we came back and told.
Said no, yeah,
and
said it
we
was a mess.
told everybody
Yeah.
that it was.
So I'd like to go back to the developer and say that their modified plan has not been approved, and that the board is leaning towards more plantings like the original plan. And then that you're asking for a $30,000 bond for temporary occupancy permit that would expire, let's say, June 1st, so they can get the plantings done in May.
And I would make that expire July 31st.
July 31st?
Only because usually April, May is just so, those are usually bad months to do any plantings, everything's so wet.
Yeah.
They can't even they won't even be able to get the stuff out of the nursery, the balls are just gonna be saturated, and
Okay, that's fine.
so, just so they don't have to come back in front of us.
Well, the way things are going, winter may not be here till April, so.
I know.
Yeah, well, the way, everything's saturated now, it's, we don't have any frost.
Fortunately, it's with rain too, not snow. We've been lucky.
And other than that, just two upcoming applications would be 1729 Broadway next meeting. That's gonna be for a 3-unit commercial building. And then Central Glass will be probably the month after. That's for 2 commercial buildings on the parcel next to the flea market.
That Broadway address, that's where that old egg something was, that building right across from the Gap.
It is.
Johnson's Ice Cream Parlor.
What? Where is that?
Where was that? That sounds familiar.
You're right
Broadway?
across,
Yeah.
right across from the Gap,
From the Gap, that's right.
remember?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was before the egg? It was something called the egg something.
I used to.
When I moved into
My
town.
grandparents lived on Robinson Street, and they abutted it. And when I was a kid, I used to walk through the woods and go get an ice cream
Yeah.
Like that.
and go back.
It's an oldie.
Johnson's.
Dairy Maid North.
That was, and then I used to sneak cigars from my grandfather's basement on the way out of the woods, choked to death. Okay, so, now we did send that, we are gonna send that Broadway plan to Nitch for review.
We are.
You're sending it to Nature Way. I'll do that tomorrow.
And Serpent update, any?
Did I talk to you about the proposal for the gas tax increase? Last time, I mean, we haven't met in such a long
No.
time. Remember?
No other state wants to do it though, besides Mass, right?
Well, it's a weird situation. Because of cars being more fuel efficient and the advent of electric cars, the gas tax revenue is low. They're not getting the money that they need. So the state, Massachusetts, is proposing an additional 25 cents per gallon.
No, but the millions of dollars that they're bringing in on all these casinos and the marijuana was a moneymaker, and.
Right now, when you buy a gallon of gas,
Crazy.
18 cents of that price is federal tax and 23 is state. And their proposal is to make it 48 cents state tax.
Well, if anybody from the state's watching, I disagree.
You know, if I can digress just a bit, I have a relative who lives in California, and as you know, they went through like a 10-year drought. So they put out to everyone had to cut back on their water usage by 15%. And the people went all out, and in fact, they reduced the water usage by 20%. And then the county said, okay, we're not making the money we did before, so the tax for the water went up. It's the same scenario here with the gas. You gotta make cars more efficient, and the tax went up. The other thing that came up is time for the new yearly assessment of what the fee is for the town. Raynham was based on $13,383, which is a total of $2,506 is our assessment to Serpent for the year. And that's it. They mentioned about starting the project for master plan. And that's about it.
We had a discussion this morning, the number of residents is at 13,000 from 2010.
Yeah.
The new number's gonna come out, so be prepared, you're probably gonna be closer to 20,000.
Really? You know, the town itself has to report to the state what they think it is on an interim basis, and the last report they gave them was in the 16,000 and change,
More
if
money.
memory serves it out. Huh?
Money, and Michael King reported today 600 more excise tax bills went out this year than last year.
Wow.
600 more. 600 more cars than last year.
Wow.
And we know exactly where they drive every day, right?
Yeah.
I'm still not over the 20,000 cars per day on Route 138. That just blew my mind. I would have
I
never
built
guessed the number that
Hillcrest
built.
Plaza in 1987, and there was 18,000 cars back then, in 1987, because I had to do a study then, and there was 18,000 cars back in, what was it, 87? I think it was 87.
That just blows my mind.
It's been,
Nothing to be signed.
No, we already did it.
okay, so,
Plans? No.
anything else? No plans?
No plans.
While we're, I guess, on camera, I would just like to say that we have Mr. Texera's not rerunning for
That's correct.
planning board, so anybody that's out there, pull your papers, you wanna join us, you wanna get, abused and get paid, squat. You must have to, you
That's
must have to,
okay.
you must have to want to, do it, to give back to the town, because other than that,
You need a high
you're not getting any, you're not getting anything on it.
They're gonna be lining up, Dan.
But
They're gonna be lining up.
I think it's,
Sounds really good.
I
Yeah.
think there is, enough people, there's gotta be somebody out there who wants to, come on the planning board to give their,
I've talked to a couple of people trying to convince them to run. We'll see what happens. No one's pulled papers yet.
yeah, no, so, just to let everybody know, there's a position coming available. Okay,
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye.